Welcome to the Academic Success Crash Course Series presented by the Office of Academic Skills at Washington College. Today's video is Getting and Staying Organized, and we'll go into detail about how to organize your time, your space, and your routine in the remote learning environment. Organization is difficult under many circumstances and is a skill that is always developing, so whether you are already an organized person or not, this webinar will be able to help you. Organize your space. That's the first thing you want to do. Think about your study location. Will you be more likely to stay on task if you and your parents and siblings are all working at the kitchen table, or will you do better away from people? If you can't get your own space to work in, can you build a barrier around yourself with books and binders to create kind of a study carrel like we have in the library, and then use headphones to block out noise from the rest of the house? If you need to be able to move your space at different times of day, create your library in a box. Keep everything you need, and I mean everything, in a box or backpack so that you are taking your space with you and able to stay on track. Include pens, pencils, notebooks, chargers, chapstick, snacks, index cards, books, anything you'll need. The space you're in should be organized. Chaotic, messy spaces stress us out and distract our brains. So if you can have a dedicated space you can have control over, that's ideal. And take 5 minutes to clean it up or just hide the mess before you sit down to do work. When we transition to college, a lot of students struggle with not having downtime, like real downtime, because of having a roommate for the first time. This still applies even in remote learning. Your whole family is going to be in the same place at the same time, and you might not be sure when everyone is going to be on a video call or playing music, watching TV, or doing whatever. You might not feel you have control over your routine, and that can produce a lot of stress and anxiety. Make whatever space you can yours. Even if you're sharing a bedroom or a workspace, just find a way to make it yours. Posters, hanging a sheet as a curtain, using headphones. But don't confine yourself to one space. It can be important to have a space that's yours and organized, but don't stay glued to it. Make sure you move around and get outside whenever you can. Simplify. If you had an intricate system for organization before, you may want to rethink it. If you didn't have one, whatever you do set up, you definitely want to keep it simple. There's enough going on, and if you're trying something too complicated, you're a lot less likely to keep up with it. So then whatever time you've spent creating or setting it up is wasted time. Use your time wisely and keep it simple. Only have one planner. If you have both a paper planner and an app, or multiple planners or calendars, the odds are that something is going to slip through the cracks eventually when you forget to write down your plans in both planners or calendars. Also, having more than one calendar will take up a lot of your time. Don't reinvent the wheel. Think about what has worked for you before and just make small changes to make it work for you now. Even think about what didn't work before and use that to help you figure out what might work for you now. This applies to your space, your time, and your work. Think about the way that your professors organize their classes and assignments and build off of that in a way that makes sense for you. If most of your professors rely heavily on Canvas for assignments and due dates, consider syncing Canvas with your Outlook calendar so that your assignments are automatically on your calendar. It's a great way to work smarter, not harder, and not have to worry about updating your calendar yourself when due dates change. And it helps you simplify by having multiple sources of information in one place. Organization is going to change every semester, no matter what setting we're in. So it's okay if you try something new. You have to adapt. Just think about what did or didn't work before as a starting point for now. Organize your tasks and priorities. Just like always, keeping track of everything you need to do is important. Here are some quick tips, but there's a whole crash course just on managing priorities that you can check out. Keep a list. I always like a master list that combines everything for all of your classes, so it's simple and in one place, like I was talking about with your Canvas assignments and your Outlook calendar. Keep a daily to-do list, which can be less overwhelming and help you focus on the most important tasks for a day based on what is due, but also what time and type of environment you have for that day. So how do you decide what's important? There are two great methods. First, the priority matrix. Start with your master list. Now prioritize the next week or two worth of things, depending on how much is due or how much time you have, other stuff like that. You want to keep these kind of things balanced. If you have 10 number one priorities and no number two priorities, you need to rethink what really is urgent and important. So number one items are things that are urgent and important, like due in the next couple days, worth more points, scheduled and not movable, like a class or an appointment. Or maybe it's something that you need specific circumstances, like having the kitchen table to yourself to be able to spread out, having a strong internet connection, or no distractions. That's a number one priority so that you can prioritize it during the most ideal circumstances. Number two priorities are things that are important but not urgent. Maybe they're worth points but not due until 2 or 3 days down the line, or not worth as many points as your number one priorities if you have a lot of things there. Number three priorities are urgent but not important. It's an appointment you have, but you could reschedule if it was needed. I'm not saying to not be respectful of other people's times, but if push came to shove, it's something you could put off. Urgent might also be a 2-point quiz on Canvas if something is worth a small enough portion of your grade, but there are other things due that are worth more than that. A 2-point assignment might be due now, but it's less important than those other things. The goal would be to keep things from having to be in number 4, but this box can also help you realize that things you thought were important are not as important as you thought. You can also think about this like delegating. Maybe you thought you needed to clean your room today, and it is important to have an organized space, but if you can put it off until tomorrow because there's much more pressing priorities, you can do that. Maybe you were just going to have a Google Hangout with your suite mates. This is an example of something that can be changed. Text them and ask to turn it into group studying. This doesn't have to be the absolute order of things, but it can be helpful to figure out what to start with and what's the most important. It actually takes 5 minutes or less to help you realize what's important for now. Putting it down on paper helps you organize your thoughts. Another great strategy that is better for organizing less tasks is top 3s, or maybe top 5, or whatever makes it manageable for you. Hope that's pretty straightforward. You just pick out the top 3 tasks or top 5 tasks for a specific day. This is great if you don't have a lot on your plate or on your to-do list. The priority matrix is better for organizing a lot of different tasks, and especially when you're feeling overwhelmed. Organize your time. There's way more about this in the Managing Distractions webinar or the Creating a Plan for Success webinar, but here are some basics. Make a schedule. Keeping a routine and some semblance of normalcy is really helpful right now. Think about things that you have to schedule around, such as live class, watching younger siblings, if you have a job, things like that. And then stick to your schedule and your routine. Put a copy of your schedule up on your wall for others to see and for you to see consistently. You can also set up reminders on your phone so it's automated, almost like moving from class to class. Consider the 8-8-8 method for finding balance. This helps you get things done, but also take care of yourself, which is so important all of the time, but even more now, especially when you're spending most of your time in the same location. Sleep for 8 hours a day, spend 8 hours a day working, and 8 hours for the rest of your life. Netflix, virtual hangouts, gaming, family time, laundry, etc. This might not work out every single day. Some days you'll need to spend more time working or more time on the rest of your life. That's another reason why planning your time is important, so you can make sure it mostly balances off every couple of days. Focus on the Monday to Friday, if your home circumstances allow it. Focus 80 to 90% of your schoolwork Monday to Friday as it did on campus, attending class and whatnot. This helps maintain a routine and make sure you're giving yourself time off and using the time you spend working wisely. Make sure organization isn't just about being tidy or keeping a schedule. It's about keeping track of assignments, emails, digital files, coming up with a simple system that works for you and your circumstances, and being able to stick to it. If you would like to go into more detail, please visit the Office of Academic Skills webpage and make an appointment with an academic skills tutor.